Hello everyone, and welcome to the dev video thing for Craftamari Alpha 8. Now this isn't a huge update, but it does have one major feature first of all, which is we've been updated to Minecraft 1.20.2. It was not an easy update, but we got it done, so now you have access to things like the sniffer and so on, which is pretty nice. It was a lot of work though. But anyway, so I don't have things set up quite as nicely as the last update video. I just have my changelog, which is in no particular order, but to make sure we don't miss things, I'm just going to go in the order I've written it down. So we'll be all over the place because I didn't exactly add things in any logical order. Very first thing I added was niter, which is this here. Normally you can't get it in this form. It's actually a block that spawns in caves on the wall. Let's get into survival mode real quick. So yeah, normally you would punch it, it drops as that, and you get that. And that's what it is. So yeah, it can be found rarely on the floor, ceiling, and walls of caves, excluding lush caves in the deep dark. And we'll go over what it's used for in a little bit. Now the second thing we added is right over here. We added the blonde hedgehog, I should say. This is just the rare hedgehog. It's a 1 out of 1,000 chance when breeding hedgehogs. We were missing the rare one in the last alpha. Now we have it. Doesn't do anything special, but, you know, it's an actual real-life hedgehog variant, so that's nice to have. All right, next up on the list is pyrite dust. So now you can put pyrite into a crusher. I don't need to show you guys that. But yeah, you get pyrite dust, and then you can use pyrite dust on a lodestone, and you get 2 items from that. You get an iron powder and a sulfur. Pretty cool, right? Gives you a use for pyrite dust, but you can also go the other direction. So you can combine sulfur and iron powder together. I think maybe just in the crafting grid. Yeah, just like that. There you go. So this gives you a way to make pyrite dust if you have sulfur. So let me look here. All right, so next up, what you use niter and sulfur for is you can craft 7 niter powder, 1 charcoal, and 1 sulfur to create 4 gunpowder. So yeah, it's just a way to get gunpowder that doesn't involve creepers, which is good, A, for if you're in a peaceful world, and B, if you just don't like fighting creepers, which honestly, I'm not a fan. But yeah, I just thought that was a fun thing, you know? That's kind of one of the big motivations between adding sulfur and everything. But not the only one. So next up, though, the entire reason that I added picandra trees is because in real life, I think there's trees that like pull nickel out of the ground or whatever. And that's the idea with picandra trees. So you might see it's on the right under targeted block. It says age 15 when you look at these. That's because now these will siphon nickel out of the ground. And it fills up the bottom one and then moves up and up and up. And if you chop down the tree and then put the logs back, they won't do that anymore. But basically, you hear that noise. If I give myself a picandra log, right, I have to do it correctly here. Yeah, if we give ourselves a regular picandra log and then place that on the ground, it makes the normal wood noise. You might not be able to hear it very well, but it makes a different noise. So yeah, whenever it's full, it makes a different noise, and then you can harvest it, and you can, let me read right here. All right. Oh yeah, I should say, it has to be sitting on dirt, and if there's 2 dirt below it, like too deep, it goes faster. But it does take a while. But yeah. You smelt the logs, so you just toss, once it sounds like this, you chop it down, you toss it in a smelter, and you'll get nickel ingots, which can then be made into nickel blocks, which I believe is this block here, yes. So this is a nickel block. It doesn't really have any purpose, but you know, you gotta add the metal blocks, I guess. I actually had trouble finding various shades of gray for blocks in this update. It was just kind of unavoidable that it would happen. Anyway, let's get back in creative, though. All right, so next up on the list is white gold, which is pretty cool, I believe. Yes, this is white gold here. So white gold is made by combining 7 electrum ingots and 2 nickel ingots, and then you smelt that together to make white gold. It's basically the tier up from Electrum, which itself was the tier up from Gold, if you remember from the previous change log. So the basic idea is we're just expanding what Gold can be. So it does like the next tier up in terms of tool usefulness. I think that means it's iron equivalent. I didn't write that down, but the point is it's one higher than Electrum. What it is doesn't really matter. Yeah, we have all the various things you can see here. I might need to change the sword texture a bit because this bit here I think should be white gold, but I didn't do that this time around. Yeah, that's what the raw white gold block looks like. It's a similar concept to Electrum. It's nothing particularly new, but yeah, it's cool. I like it. Next up, you might have seen this. Lemon trees, yep. They have the same functionality, same appearance rate, and everything as orange trees. You can combine lemon, sugar, and a cup to make lemonade. We can go ahead and just look in here. There is lemonade. It's nothing special. It's just a little flavor thing because, you know, I like food and farming and stuff in Minecraft. Don't really know why. I just do. Next up on the list, sulfur. You know, same concept as Niter, except it spawns on Netherrack. In theory, it can even spawn on the Netherrack that spawns with the like broken portals in the overworld, although I've never actually confirmed that because it's such a rare occurrence, and I don't really care either way if it does. The main point is to find it in the Nether, but this is the main way to get gunpowder if you don't want to kill the creepers, is you go to the Nether and you gather this stuff. It's pretty easy to see, you know, it stands out. And I like it. It's a very, you know, it's a very nethery thing to have sulfur lying around. And something else to find in the Nether is always good because, you know, it's not always the most fun place to explore. Anyway, next up, something exciting. I gotta go in here. Mummies. Now this was a lot of work. Mummies were so much work you would not even believe it. I'm gonna go over here and spawn him though. Alright, so there he is. I took some inspiration from some existing mummy textures, but it is an original texture overall. Though it does bear some similarities, I think, to some other ones. This was tough to make, though, because I wanted him to do special things. The idea of the mummy is he's kind of like, you know, the husk is like a harder version of the zombie. Well, this is like the harder version of the husk. And it's meant to be like, this is something you see and you're like, uh-oh. But obviously, it's still just a zombie type thing. It doesn't have any ranged attacks or anything. But I'm just going to read what I wrote about it because there's a lot of details going on there. And it doesn't want to stay on camera, so that's unfortunate while I read. But yes, okay, so the mummy. It's a hostile mob. It can track players from 100 blocks away. It's slower than zombies, but it has 20 hearts of health. It takes reduced knockback. It can breathe underwater for a minute. It has slightly better armor stat than zombies. It deals half heart more damage than zombies. It has no ambient noise when it is stalking you from a distance. So, like, you've heard it making zombie noises, but if it's targeting you, it won't make those noises anymore. So it can sneak up behind you and you won't hear it coming. Its footsteps are extra quiet, so you might not hear them either. They can break doors in normal or hard difficulties. Obviously, only doors that can be broken by zombies. They're not going to go breaking through an obsidian door or anything. They will sometimes spawn with an electrum or bronze sword. They don't spawn with armor, but they can pick it up if it's on the ground for some reason. Now, 5% of naturally spawning husks will be replaced with mummies as long as the regional difficulty is high enough, or if the husks are spawning on creep for whatever reason, which, if you don't remember, is that kind of like Tiberium type block I added in a previous update. They actually have like a burst of speed once they are just a few blocks away from you. So they'll walk to you slowly, but whenever you're like getting ready to hit them with your sword, they'll suddenly move at you faster. I call it the lunge move. I think that's a fun little thing. That was difficult to program from what I remember, although that was quite a while ago. They're immune to the wither and poison effects, and if they're on fire between 6 and 24 health, which that's health, not hearts. A heart is 2 health. But in that range, they have a chance of converting into a husk when they're on fire. The idea being like their wraps burned off and now they're just a husk. So fire doesn't necessarily stop them. They can attack villagers, but they only target them from 30 blocks away or less. And they're scared of iron golems, so they'll run away from those. In hard mode, they can summon husk reinforcements when damaged, similar to how zombies can summon other zombies. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, and I actually had a few more ideas for them that I didn't get into this update just because that's already so much. And I think it's a fun idea. Just overall, having something harder that spawns, but it's not an annoying hard. Like, this isn't like having a hard skeleton show up and snipe you from across the map, and it's just like, well, that was stupid. This is, I think, the correct level of difficulty for something that just spawns randomly. And it should add a little bit of spice to exploring the deserts. So I'm happy with that. I didn't write down what their drops are, but I'm sure it's just standard things, probably. Obviously, they can drop the Electrum or Bronze Sword if they spawn with those, which is pretty cool. I can load up their drops real quick, if you don't mind. Alright, I'm looking at the drops. I'm not going to go into, like, how common each drop is, because it's a mess of a file to read. But they can drop Rotten Flesh, of course. They can drop Lapis Lazuli. They can drop Bones. They can drop Bronze Ingots, Electrum Ingots, Electrum Nuggets, Gold Ingots, Cassava, that is raw, sapphires, diamonds, emeralds, carrots, and potatoes. So a pretty good set of items, some interesting Craftamari items in there. I thought that was a good way to sneak some more of those into an actual drop table, because adding them to all the existing mobs doesn't seem as good, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's mummies in a nutshell. I think they're a good addition. I think they're a fun addition. And hopefully they're enjoyable. Anyway, moving on, we've actually got to go on a little journey for this next one, because I've added a couple structures in this update. Corrupt Shack. It's 415 blocks away. You know, I just realized I don't actually know where we're at. Well, I guess we're at spawn. It's fine. Okay, right. Nope, I thought I had that. There we go. All good. I was worried it might do that. I didn't actually check this location, and now we've destroyed part of it. But you get the idea. So yeah, the Corrupt Shack is a new structure that I've added. It has a zombie inside that has a bronze helmet on, and you just get a chest that can have items in it, but it does not right now. Let me see what it says here about the Corrupt Shack. Oh, it just says it can spawn in forest biomes and will always contain a zombie. And the idea is just this was a shack where that zombie was living, and then he got corrupted, and now he is gone. And now he is holding that. I don't think he was holding that earlier, was he? I don't know. But yeah, it's just a cool little thing. You know, it's like a pre-made house that you could find in the world. They're not super common, but if you find one, you know, it's a little bit of flavor for the world. It adds a bit more of the corruption to the world, which is a big thing for me. I want to get that feeling more like it's part of the world. Anyway, next up, we need to head back home. And by home, I mean away from this home. Over here. Oh, right. I forgot about this. We actually spawned here and we have to go over here. It's fine. All right, but the next thing that we've added is apple trees, which you've probably already noticed that there is an apple tree over here. I've been wanting to add apple trees since the very beginning, and I was putting it off for whatever reason, but it's finally here. I guess part of it was my tree code was not the greatest, but I did refine like the whole tree spawning code and everything for this update, which is why I added so many types of trees and tree related updates. But yes, so apple trees, they can spawn in groups of 1 to 10 in certain biomes. I'm not going to list all the biomes, but you can also just craft a sapling by combining an oak sapling and an apple together, because I didn't want it to be relying on RNG. So this is one tree that you don't actually have to go searching for. No matter what, you can get an apple tree and start farming apples, and that's pretty cool. I like it. Now, the golden apple tree over here, it looks really cool. Yes, you can actually grow golden apples. However, they grow 250 times slower than an apple. So realistically, if you actually want golden apples, you can just go mining. You can get a ton of golden apples super fast. This is not a realistic method unless, like, in the end game, technically, yes, you could make a whole lot of these trees or find them and AFK there for an extensive amount of time and get a bunch of free golden apples. And yeah, maybe that's okay, but I'm pretty sure there's better ways to farm gold and get golden apples than that. And yeah, at that point, doesn't really matter if you've got a ton of them anyway. You're kind of overpowered. But yeah, this is a really cool looking tree. I like it a lot. It's a ridiculously rare spawn in certain biomes, and it's mostly intended as decorational. And you can craft the sapling as well by taking an apple sapling and surrounding it with gold ingots. So 8 gold ingots and an apple sapling, and you get this, which you might say is, you know, pretty cheap, but like I said, it takes forever for them to grow. So yeah, and that might be revised. I thought about making it gold blocks, but you know, whatever, we'll see. I'm not too worried about it. All right, next up, this is another one I've wanted for a long time. It looks so nice. The leaves were difficult to get correct, the correct shade and everything. The maple tree, it is beautiful. I love it. So the details of the maple tree is they similar to the apple tree, groups of 1 to 10, semi-rarely in certain biomes. When they grow from a sapling, 80% of the maples will be big trees and 20% will be small. So like this is a big tree. That would be more of a small tree. So you'll get a lot of big maples. They have a similar mechanic to the picandra trees where they fill up with maple syrup from the bottom. However, I haven't added any way to actually gather the maple syrup. So yeah, and there's no way to tell when it's full either. It just, oh well, yeah. It just sounds the same. And I think it also doesn't even have the mechanic where, like, if you chop it down and place it back, it'll stop working. Because I don't think it's as overpowered as getting free nickel. But the idea is, of course, that you'll be able to tap the tree in a future update to get maple syrup and do things with the maple syrup. That was kind of out of scope for this update, but, you know, I've been wanting to add maple trees for a long time. And this way, at least when I add that, your maple trees will already be full of syrup and ready to go, which is pretty nice. All right, and they are a standard wood as well, so I guess I should show you guys. Now, I didn't even show you, we can say, yeah, there's the gold sapling. I didn't show you that. And then we have maple, so here's all the maple things. Pretty cool, standard things there. All right, so next up, sapphire door. Yes, this is the new door. This is a TNT-resistant glass door. We've got the standard unsecured and secured variants, so this one can't be opened except by that. Like an iron door, this one can. But yeah, this is, it's not explosion proof, but it is TNT proof. And it's made by using obsidian and sapphire glass. And yeah, it's just, you know, it's a really nice looking way to have a bomb shelter. Or like a nether house or something that doesn't blow up with the gas. I think it looks really cool. It's an idea I had for a while, and I finally made it work. We had to get some sort of see-through material in, which turned out to be sapphire glass. All right, next up, continuing in the completely out of order way that we are, because this is just the order that I added things in. Craftamari Mummy Tomb. This one is also a ways away. And once again, we've been spawned in here. This time I think I'll go to the side a bit. Hopefully I went to the side enough. Alright, so. Yeah, the Mummy Tomb is an interesting one because it mostly spawns underground, and it's meant to be, like, barely visible. This one, it's a little more visible than normal because of this. Though realistically, from the other side, you'd never even realize it was there. But yeah, the idea is that you can drop inside of here. And here we go. Yeah, there's a mummy in here with a sword. There's some armor on a thing, which is pretty cool. And yeah, you can climb in. There's plant pots. There's a block there. There is a barrel here. Got no items in it, though. I think they might have changed how loot tables work, and I might need to tweak that. I should say this isn't like a final build of Alpha 8. This is just a feature-complete one. There's still things that broke in the transfer to 1.20.2 that I have to fix. Mostly to do with fluids, but loot tables probably too. But yeah, let me read about this. They spawn rarely in desert biomes, and they contain a mummy as well as some useful items. Mummies can spawn inside the tomb area, even if the regional difficulty isn't high enough for them to spawn elsewhere yet. And cave spiders can also spawn in here rarely, although with the lighting they generally won't. And one thing I had in my notes was to remove this glow like in here, and I might get rid of it just so that you have a higher chance of things spawning in here. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So it looks like this collapsed in, and yeah, I really like it. And the idea is, once you drop in, you actually can't get back out easily. So if you don't know what it is, and you drop in here, and you've got a mummy with a sword ready to murder you, and possibly a cave spider too, if you're really unlucky. And I really like that. I definitely want more things to do in the desert, and that is definitely something to look out for. Very close, though, because it's not exactly the easiest to see. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and return to where we came from, if I can figure it out. It was over here. All right, so coming up next. Oh, this is another really good one. This is one that has also been on my list pretty much since the very beginning of Craftamari. I just never got around to it because it seemed like kind of a nightmare. But we have metal ladders. And this ended up being way cooler than I could have ever envisioned before. So yeah, they're ladders. You can climb on them like normal. They are explosion resistant, so a ghast cannot blow them up. They can freestand like this, and they use code to let you do this. So yeah, they can go that high on their own. If you try to go higher, they break. But you can like double them up, I think. Yeah, if we do this, then we can double them up, and then we should be able to go higher. Because it uses, like, tree-style code, where it checks how far away it is from where it's last attached to something. But another cool thing that you can do, if we grab this, is you could hang it off the edge of something. So, like, normally, it can only go that high, you see? But if we hang it down, then doesn't want to play. There we go. Yeah, now it's hanging properly. It's revised the list. So yeah, you could hang it off a ledge like that. It's pretty cool. Obsidian is the same concept. It's just more explosion resistant and, you know, pretty cool looking as well. But yeah, this is just such a cool concept of a block. I wish the main game had something like this. You can jump over the edge. You can't climb it from the back. It's unfortunate, but, you know, it's good enough. You get the idea. The idea isn't so much that you would have it freestanding that much. It is cool, though, and when I think of it, I think of these as like, you know, like you have the warehouse platforms, and you have like ladders that lead up and stuff. It feels like a very industrial thing. You could definitely do some really cool builds with this, and I just love it as an idea. And like a lot of my ideas, it is based on being able to make things in the nether that's explosion resistant and useful because of ghasts. So, yeah, that's a big motivation there as well. Make the nether more fun to explore. Anyway, next up, okay, this is going to be another convoluted one to show off. But we have Cooperite. So this only spawns rarely in the deep slate area. And it is extremely complicated to use. So, what you got to do is, first, you take a Blightwater bucket, which has been graphically updated. It looks a little different now. You cook it, either in a campfire or a furnace, and you get Blight Sludge. What do you do with Blight Sludge, you may ask? Well, if you take raw Cooperite, and I need a crafting table. Alright, so yeah, if you combine those two, you get a Cooperite bucket. Pretty cool. So then you use the Cooperite bucket on the ground, and it gives you a... Let me make sure I'm right about this. Yeah, you get a platinum dust and a sulfur. So platinum dust, you know, I haven't added a platinum block yet because there's just too many silver blocks. But what you can do is cook the platinum into a platinum ingot, which we have here, and then you combine 7 white gold ingots, a glowstone dust, and a platinum ingot, and you get, I can go over here actually for this, you get this. This is the raw noble alloy block. And then you cook that, and you get the noble alloy block. So this is the next tier up from white gold. Yeah, it's starting to get pretty good. Like, if we look at noble alloy stuff, like, the sword does 7 attack damage, the chestplate is +6 armor. Like, it's somewhere in between steel and diamond in terms of effectiveness, I believe, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it has all the benefits of gold, although it's obviously going to be weaker than the equivalent normal stuff. But yeah, it's called noble because it's like noble metals and stuff, gold and all that. It's pretty cool. I like it. It also glows. Light level 2, so it's not super noticeable, but in pitch black, you will notice it flickering a little because it does glow thanks to the glowstone dust that is smelted into it. So that's the end of the whole gold refining update for this update. That was always the plan when I added Electrum, but it did take a little while to get all of that added in. Mostly because I needed that entire smelting process to get up to noble alloy. Okay, next one. This is another one that took a bit of work. This is the Cobalt Slush. Now this is a weird looking fish because it's meant to be from another dimension. That's the idea. So the idea is this fish will have come from the dimension that Lickweiss is from. And that's where it would be found normally, but it's also a solution to my problem of not knowing what fish to have spawn in frozen rivers, because I've been wanting to add a fish to frozen rivers, but I just couldn't figure out what. So yeah, the Cobalt Slush, it spawns in frozen rivers and frozen/cold oceans. And it's immune to cold-related damage, so it could theoretically swim in Lickweiss. Now, there is a bug. You could say it's a bug. It's kind of intended to, but they changed how fluids work in 1.20 Forge, and fish can't swim in my custom fluids anymore. So at best right now, I have it so that it just stays there. But I'm hoping by the time I'm, done bug fixing this update, it will actually swim. But if not, it doesn't spawn in Lickweiss in the overworld anyway. So that's technically a problem I don't truly have to finish until we actually add that dimension, which who knows when that'll be. But the cool thing about it is, it's cool. Literally, it's cold. But it drops a Lickweiss shard, which if we look here, this is a Lickweiss shard. I'm not too happy with the sprite for this, but, whatever. We'll fix it someday. But what you can do is combine 8 Lickweiss shards with a bucket to get a bucket of Lickweiss. So this is a renewable source of Lickweiss. This is a slightly less RNG source of Lickweiss, and also a source for people who have pre-generated worlds and can't just easily go somewhere where Lickweiss might spawn. It's not intended to be like a good way to get a ton of it, but Lickweiss will be involved with getting to the Lickweiss dimension whenever that update eventually happens. So the idea here is that if all else fails, you can, brute force yourself a little bit of Lickweiss, get to the dimension where there's an unlimited supply, and you're good. So that's just kind of a backup. But mostly, I wanted something for the cold areas. He does the job. So what else to read about him? They only spawn in groups of 1 or 2. They can't be put in a water bucket or zombified. I might add the ability to put them in a Lickweiss bucket in the future, but that didn't seem important for now. And if they're in a hot biome, they will take damage unless they're inside Lickweiss. And that includes being in water. So, like, if it's in a river biome next to a savanna and it crosses into a block of water that's technically in the savanna, it will instantly start taking damage and die pretty fast. It's actually kind of funny. But since they don't spawn in normal rivers, it shouldn't naturally happen very often. But yeah. So that's a pretty cool little thing there. And the next thing, and actually the final thing on the list, shockingly, yeah, it's not a super long list, is the thermal block. This is another idea I had a while ago. So the idea of the thermal block is it's ultra dense silver. And what you do is you take a block of silver and a single silver ingot, you compress them together, so you get basically 10 silver ingots in the same space you normally have 9. So it's ultra dense, which makes it conduct heat harder. And then whenever it is directly touching lava, it will, at some slightly random point of time later, become a heated block. There it goes. Heated block, it's kind of like a magma block in some senses. It will hurt you like fire if you touch it. See? And if we block it again, which I don't have anything good to block it with, we can use that. It will, you know, eventually cool down, similar amount of time. So yeah, it doesn't destroy items whenever it's hot, and you're immune to it if you have Frostwalker and you walk on it. And what else? What else? Well, unlike magma blocks, it hurts if you bump your head on it. And it also hurts if you touch the side. Yes. I had to do a bit of a hack for this. What I did was, it's technically not a full block on the sides and bottom. It's kind of like a cactus where you can technically go like 1 pixel into it. So you'll actually get caught on the edge. It's kind of awkward. But if we do like this, you can see like I'm walking forward right now. I'm technically caught on the lip of it. But that's just a minor technicality of it. But the idea is this is like a danger block that you can turn off and on at will, and it's dangerous on all sides, unlike magma blocks. And the key thing is it doesn't destroy items, so that's pretty cool. It also doesn't glow unless it's turned on, in which case it glows at light level 5, which is brighter than magma blocks, which is pretty cool. And this is just a silly little idea I had. I'm not too happy with the visuals of it. It doesn't look very good. And I would love getting someone with actual graphical skill to make a really nice, possibly like animated, red hot glowing silver texture, but low priority, functionality first, especially since I'm no graphical artist. But yes, it is pretty cool to have, and that is all the major updates, I believe. I don't think I missed anything. I didn't say that the obsidian ladder is made from obsidian sticks, and you can push them with pistons, but they have to be supported when they're pushed. So, you know, if they're freestanding like this, they will break, but if it's on a wall like this, like if you push this one from here to here, it would not break, which is pretty cool and theoretically useful, I guess. But yeah, I think that's about it for things I might have forgot to mention. So now I'll just real quickly go through what I call the small changes in my changelog. First one is I did rewrite the entity breeding code. It's not on all the entities yet, but it just kind of simplifies things. I don't think there's anything specifically important to mention about it. It's just know that it's better now, I guess. Chicken jockeys can now be converted into stormy chickens when they're hit by lightning. And any mod entity that I've added that's converted by lightning will now preserve its passenger. So I'm not sure what other ones that would really matter for in the vanilla gameplay, but you know, if you were riding a fish for some reason and it got turned into an undead fish, you would technically still be riding it now, which is nice. Iron ingots can be crushed into iron powder now. Obviously, we added iron powder for the pyrite stuff, and that's a way that you could take the sulfur from the nether, grind down your iron ingots, and then make pyrite en masse if you wanted it for decoration or whatever. Oh, right, I added the 10 block. This is under the small changes because it's really not that important. This is the 10 block here. I didn't add it previously because, you know, it's just another gray metal block. They're kind of boring. I've struggled to differentiate them without having to like make entirely new textures. But yeah, it exists now because why not? Completionism, I guess. I'm going to have to add the platinum one soon, probably next update. Next up, orange trees now can spawn in groups of 1 to 5 in jungle biomes instead of just 1. That was part of my whole, like, actually programming trees correctly now, because the first time around I'd done it all wrong, and I was forced to change it up whenever I updated to 1.19, I think. And now in 1.20, it just still works. Picandra trees now spawn in groups of 1 to 3, which is nice. They'll be a little easier to find now. Cabbages will also be more common. It was a little... The way I did it's a little weird, where I technically made them rare, but every time it tries to spawn them, it tries more often, because basically how it works is like it says like this chunk either has cabbage or doesn't have cabbage, but then once it decides, it has to randomly choose spots, and if it doesn't find one, there's no cabbage. But the Too Long didn't listen to that. Is cabbage should be more common now, which is good because it was a bit hard to find. Underground polluted water, blight water, and liquid lakes should be slightly more common. Crop leaves, like the orange leaves, lemon leaves, etc., will not generate crops if you like shear them away and then place them back. I thought I had already done that, but I guess not. I don't know. The Wandering Trader now has a trade that gives you 2 maple saplings, and I lowered the emerald cost of the Picandra sapling to 7 emeralds because they're more common now, so lower price. I fixed a bug that was making it so like the obsidian stick and obsidian wall recipes only gave 1 of them instead of the proper amount. I don't know why I hadn't noticed that before, but it was a thing. I fixed obsidian bars, torches, and pressure plates being immune to blue weather skulls because they shouldn't have been. I just kind of overdid it on making them immune to things. Whoops. I also made it so blight bales, stripped maple wood, and the like cow fur and a ghost like woolly cow and ghost sheep carpets. I'm stumbling over my words here, but they can now be ignited by fire. It was surprisingly more work than you'd think to be able to make them lightable. Like, you can't just say this is a lightable item. Like, you have to go in and make a custom thing and everything. It's overly complicated. And I also fixed a bug where bass had the same stats as anchovies. They were not intended to, but I had accidentally I'd given them their own stats, but then I just applied the anchovy ones to them anyway. So now they properly have a reasonable amount of health and don't just die in like 1 hit like they did before. Whoops. And yeah, that is it for Alpha 8. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not technically done. We technically still have to do bug fixing. Specifically, fluids and loot tables are the 2 biggest bugs that I know about, but I am going to go through and test just about everything. I've been meaning to set up a thing where I have like a list of every single item and block and entity and list every single thing it's supposed to do, every like special interaction, every way it spawns, every crafting recipe, every stat, just every single thing about it. And then I could just go through that list and check everything off every once in a while, like maybe every version update or something. Speaking of which, I haven't decided yet if Alpha 9 will be in 1.20.4 or not. It might be. 1.20.5 is apparently going to be a thing and add armadillos, so I don't know when that's coming out. Maybe that'll be a thing too. We'll just wait and see, but I'm very happy to at least be in 1.20 so we get the sniffers. Just to prove that we are in 1.20, we can put down a sniffer. There he is. There's that big boyo there. But yeah, so that's Alpha 8. Still not public on this, although if you did want to play with me on it, I'm willing to play on my Patreon server, which is not currently active, but if anybody wanted to, I would give them the mod for that. And it will probably be, I'm thinking Alpha 10 will be the public release, because the mod's starting to become a lot more refined now. As this update was called, the tagline for it was the refined update. You know, we got a lot of new trees in. We got a whole new metal tier upgrade in. We got a lot of new, like, world generation things in, so that it actually starts to feel more like it's a modded game. Because, like, you go in caves, you find the niter, you go in the nether, you find the sulfur. They're not particularly rare. You'll run into custom mobs now, custom structures, just lots of things. It's starting to truly feel like it's an actual mod and not just a few random features added to the base game. Although I've always considered this to be like a vanilla plus type mod. It's not meant to drastically change the game, and I feel like I've succeeded there. It's just a bunch of cool ideas mixed together into a giant Craftamari. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time for Alpha 9, or maybe I'll do like a little in-between update instead of saving everything all at once. We'll see what happens. Bye.